In the last week's review, I talked about why most video game adaptations fail and what The Last of Us is doing right. I mentioned I have an example regarding the Uncharted movie, but I left it for this video. I have an example regarding the Uncharted movie, but we will talk about it in the next episode's review. I used to think Uncharted would work well as series as the games are about exploring and finding treasures. So being a series, it will have more time showing the characters journeying around the world and exploring different places to find the treasure. Also, I used to think that The Last of Us can work as a movie as long as the focus is on exploring the characters and building the bond between them while taking the major elements of the story from the first game. It could have been like the Logan, but I thought wrong. It happened other way around because Uncharted is adapted as a movie while Last of Us is adapted as a series. But I'm glad about Last of Us. It's infinitely better suited as a series and I will come to the reason behind it in a second. First, let's discuss the Uncharted movie to continue the topic of my last episode's review. Why so many adaptations fail? Major reason is because their cast, directors, writers, producers are not subscribed to this channel. Trust me, that's the reason. So you shouldn't make the same mistake and subscribe because you never know when you will get the call from Sony or some other major studio asking you to adapt a video game adaptation. As someone with your best interest in mind, I don't want to see you fail. So do subscribe and like and comment below the whole monologue from the pearl when you are done. Anyways, now that the shameless plug is done, let's really discuss the Uncharted movie. You see, when I watched it, my first thoughts were this movie was never going to be good as a single movie or movie in general. As I mentioned before, I think it should have been a TV series, so they could have fleshed out the characters and their journey like The Last of Us. This movie felt so rushed, and there's a reason for that. It was just 1 hour 56 minutes long, basically 1 hour 45 or 50 minutes without the credits. And in this time, they had the behemoth task of satisfying the fans who have already consumed 50 plus hours of Uncharted game series. Yep, the combined runtime of all Uncharted games is at least 50 hours, and if you are a real gamer and explored it, then it was way more. So, how did they adjust this 50 plus hour content in a 1 hour 50 minutes movie? Well, they take some story from the fourth game, a fan favorite action sequence, and some story from the third game, and rest of the story and sequences from the first two games. Also, added high profile actors to attract non fan base audience, even if that means Mark Wahlberg as Sully. So, did it work? Not really. The movie is okay, but it felt really uninspired. It felt like any other generic action adventure movie. It is just okay for one time watch. In comparison, the first Last of Us game had runtime of like 14 hours, and this series will have 9 episodes, and so far the episode averages 50 minutes to 1 hour 10 minutes runtime. So, total runtime of the series will be like 9 hours or more. Clearly, they had less on their hand to adapt from. They could have easily adapted the main story of the game while adding their own stuff, which they did. The last 10 minutes of the Uncharted movie actually felt like the game, and the chemistry between Tom Holland's Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg's Sully was better than the whole movie. I was thinking about it, and I feel that once the whole trilogy of Uncharted movie, if it will be a trilogy, will be out, we will like it more. It will be like the Star Wars prequel trilogy because most fans didn't like Phantom Menace. But it was due to Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones that Revenge of the Sith was so awesome because these two movies build up towards it, and seeing the whole picture made you appreciate the previous movies as well. I think it will be same case for the Uncharted movies. It is obvious a movie that's not even 2 hours long won't hit the same as the game series everyone loved. Obviously the hype would be too high for the first movie, and it seems like they didn't even try to make it special. They just went the generic adventure movie route and took sequences, but it's less engaging because now you are not controlling the characters. What are they going to do for the next movies? Take more sequences from the game because those are the expectations they have set up from this movie. But I do feel like once the trilogy is complete, you will appreciate the movie series more. Once you have seen what they were going for and you have followed these characters in a bigger journey, then you will come back to the first movie and see how the characters change throughout the movies. Of course, that will only happen if the sequels are good and they develop the characters in a better way. They have to learn how to balance following the game and doing your own thing like Last of Us did. Anyways, that was the example I had regarding the Uncharted movie. It's a big one, that's why I didn't talk about it in the last episode's review. Coming to the review of the third episode of The Last of Us, this episode was so heartwarming, it was like a movie written inside this one episode. I won't get too much into it because I want you to watch it for yourself. This episode further developed the bond between Joel and Ellie, but it was Nick Offerman's Bill and Murray Bartlett's Frank who were the main focus of this episode and carried it. It was such a out of the genre episode, like you won't expect it from a show like this, and no one was expecting it whether you are a fan of the game or a new viewer. This episode was most different one so far compared to the games, and the most engaging one as well. Like, I don't want to repeat myself again and again, but it really surprises me how no one before this episode ever got the balance between adapting the game and adding your element in it right. Like, there have been some good adaptation, but none got this balance right. They either did their own thing or mostly followed the game, but this show is doing it and doing it so effortlessly. It deserves all the praise it is getting and more, especially after this episode. It was amazing how they not only told a great story with those characters, but also connected it with Joel. Knowing the ending of the first game, if they are following the same ending, then they are doing a wonderful job of building towards it and justifying it. Because this episode did a brilliant job of showing how lonely Joel is and how much he needs Ellie. Also, in this episode, they dived into the history of the virus and how it affected people. I can connect that to Joel, but that's a discussion for another episode's review. For now, this is all I have to say for this fantastic episode. Thank you for watching, and again, consider subscribing because you just might get that call. Also, like for good luck for a day, comment if you have watched it, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.